Okay, we are recording, and I am so excited for the call tonight. We are here with Meghan Studer and Amy Welch, and you guys, these two women are a plethora of knowledge. They know exactly what it takes to follow up, to close. They've had a ton of success in Plexus, and Amy actually, when she started, she went Fast Start Gold, and she reached Sapphire, I think, in 14 months or 15 months, somewhere around there.
On my 1 year. On my 1 year anniversary.
1 year. 1 year to Sapphire. Meghan was 1 year to Emerald, you guys. So they know a thing about getting through this business very quickly and efficiently. So listen to their tips on follow-up and closing. And without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to them so that they can tell us all about follow-up and close.
All right. Thank you so much, Sarah. And I'm going to apologize for my voice, you guys, right off the bat. I've been drinking hot tea all day. I even canceled some calls so I could reserve my voice. So I may have to take some sips of water. But, the first thing I want to talk about you guys hear that fortune is in the follow-up. And it might sound cliche, but it is so true. You guys, if you are not following up in your business, you are not going to succeed. That's the end of story, right? But there is some finesse to follow up, and there are some tricks of the trade and some rules and things you need to know about follow-up. The first thing we wanted to talk about tonight, though, are some of the sales stats. I don't know if you guys have seen those before. I know that Sarah's posted them on Team Taylor. I've posted them on my team page. But it's that chart that talks about those sales stats. And what it says is 48% of people, all right, almost half of all people never follow up with a potential. Here's why that's a bad idea, guys. Because 80% of all sales are made between the 5th and the 12th contact. So I want you to think about that for a minute. We know the statistics show it takes you following up 5 times for somebody to say yes, okay? If you are not following up, they are never going to say yes, especially maybe you're only following up 3 times, guys. But what happens? Maybe you only follow up 4 times. Okay, what if you follow up 5 times, the person still says no, but guess what? You take them off your list and you quit, and then somebody comes behind you and mentions Plexus to them. That's the 6th time for them. That person's going to get them. You cannot ever stop follow up, okay? What we're going to talk about tonight, though, is we're going to have to share some tips, because follow up does not mean bother people, you bug people, and you're salesy. When we think about follow up, I like the guy at the mall kiosk that's selling the soap, and he keeps jamming those sticks of soap. You want to try it, you want to try it, you want to try it, and you get to the mall and you're like, don't make eye contact, don't make eye contact. That is not what we talk about when we talk about follow-up with Plexus. So actually, Meghan is going to kind of kick us off and talk a little bit about a little story about follow-up to get our mindset right.
Absolutely. Thanks, Amy. I'm Meghan. And if any of you are out there and makes you nervous, or the idea of follow-up or closing scares you, you're not alone. You are in the perfect place. And I promise you that if you listen to these tips tonight that are not ours, they're not original, they're people to us, you will have success. This is something that was not natural for me, and it has helped me so much. So like Amy was saying, no does not mean forever. If you guys have not read one of the first books I got with Sarah Robbins when I started doing Plexus, the Rock, and it is amazing, super short. And she gets this analogy in there about a waitress, and how when you go to a restaurant at the end of dinner or in the middle of dinner, the waitress might ask you, would you like some coffee? And she goes around the room and asks each person at the table and says, would you like some coffee? Some say yes, some say no. Now, if you tell the waitress no, is she going to take it personally? Of course not. She's not taking it personal at all. Does this mean that she, if you go back to the restaurant in a week, for coffee? Of course not. If you take this and apply it to Plexus, it just might not be the right time. Maybe it's a budget issue right now. Maybe they're just unsure. But never stop following up, because just because now does not mean that no is forever. In preparing for this call, I went to my back office and I started looking at all the level ones. Those are the people that I directly signed. And it was amazing. Almost every single one of them told me no initially. And if I hadn't gone back through and followed up or used some of these tips that Amy is going to talk to you guys about or following up, they may not be on my team right now. So Amy has some awesome tools.
Yeah, so when you think about follow-up, I want you guys to realize there are actually different kinds of follow-up with people. You also have to get your mindset right in that you are helping this person, okay? Somebody told me the other day that following up with Plexus is kind of like getting your kid to eat their vegetables. You keep telling them you have to eat your vegetables because you know the end result is going to be that good for them. But if you don't have that belief in Plexus and how it can help these people, that's not going to come across no matter what type of follow-up you do, okay? So some follow-up we do is just Plexus information and giving them information on the products or how it can help them, okay? That's one type. Another type of follow-up, though, is or an incentive. My rule, do not ever feel guilty about trying to save somebody money. I don't care if they've ignored you 6 times, you send them that incentive and that special, okay? Don't ever feel guilty about trying to save them money. Events. Anytime we have an event, that is a reason to follow up with somebody, whether it be an in-person event, but certainly an online event, a party, or if we have like the event we have on Saturday, which is like a big, huge event with lots of incentives. That is a reason to follow up. But guys, I also want you to think about follow-up being that maybe you could send them a testimony that you think they can relate to. So if you've chatted and you know the person has migraines, it's great to send them some screenshots of a testimony for migraines or some videos, right? Whatever relates to that story or what that person is looking for Plexus to do. But here's the big kicker with follow-up that I think a lot of people forget. You still want to be their friend, okay? So when you follow up, sometimes follow-up has nothing to do with Plexus. And I kind of use this that find that somebody is not replying to my Plexus follow-up and it's been like 4 or 5 times, then that means I'm a cruddy friend and I just need to be their friend, right? So then what I do is I go to their Facebook page and I start trying to see what they've been doing lately. Then I'll send them a message about that and I won't ever mention Plexus. And 9 times out of 10, they bring Plexus up. It's almost like they want to try it. They're not quite ready, but because all we talk about is Plexus, they are afraid to talk to us about anything, right? So they go into witness protection. So I want you to realize, too, that follow-up can mean non-Plexus. Excuse me. I kind of have a 5-step follow-up process that I use, and I've followed this since the very beginning. I used it from Sarah Taylor because I threw her into 3-way chats, and she modeled the behavior. She probably doesn't even know that I've put it into 5 steps. Well, what I do is I always, when somebody, let's say they're interested in Plexus or you reach out to somebody, you don't want to give away the whole deal. So I explain what Plexus is in maybe 1 sentence and how it's helped me in 1 sentence. Then I wait, okay? Then the next, I ask them what their health goals are and how they want Plexus to help them. Then we chat a little bit. The next follow-up, I make a product recommendation. And I make that recommendation on how it can help them specifically. Then the 4th step, again, this is another follow-up. I encourage them to ask questions, right? It's okay for them to ask questions. It's okay for them to be like, well, why did you recommend that? Or why do you think I need the whole triplex, right? You want to encourage those questions. And then my final follow-up is how to purchase. Actually, that's my second to last. My final follow-up is my website. I love to tell the story about how I never send my website until the absolute very, very end. And here's why. Because when I reached out to Sarah Taylor, had she sent me her website before we had any conversation, I would have clicked on it and I would have either gotten overwhelmed by all 14 products, or more likely, I would have thought this isn't for me. I don't need them. I just need to eat healthy and go to the gym and I'll be fine, right? But because she waited until she talked to me and learned about my autoimmune issues, then she sent those steps, excuse me, that I take. Meghan. Sorry.
That's perfect. And by the time you got the website, you had kind of started to build that relationship with her. One of the things that Amy is doing in each of these steps is she's keeping it really short and simple, which is key. She's engaging in a conversation with the people. It's flowing naturally with the potentials. She's not giving them too much information. She doesn't want to overwhelm them. So that's really important, to keep it short and keep it simple. And just because they ask for it, like prices on everything, so one of the things I do for this is I really stick with a personal story and my personal impact. They're not overwhelmed with tons of research information on that, specifically what they're asking for. But ultimately, these people reached out to us because we have a relationship with them, they trust us, and our personal story means the most to them. That's why they reached out to you personally. So one of the things I try to focus on is my personal story or my family story, my close friend's story that they can relate to, in keeping it short and simple the whole time. The thing you can do is kind of like what Amy mentioned earlier, is give them, I guess what we would call in marketing, a call to action. Give them, this is a perfect opportunity, these short little blurbs, to give them a secret incentive for them, or a special going on throughout the week. This also will create a little bit of a sense of urgency in them, and it will help when you're trying to close the deal, which we're going to talk about here.
Okay, so you followed up, right? You've done the steps. You're between 5 and 12, but now you got to close the deal. It's a little different, guys, than follow up. Closing the deal really does take some action on your part. The one thing that I always do, and this really goes through your entire conversation, but especially when we're talking about closing the deal, you always want to use positive language, okay? Let me give you an example. And I love to share my story on this because I was such a skeptic. When I was on the phone with Sarah Taylor, had she said things to me like, you know, Plexus, yeah, it might, the triplex might help. Or, you know, maybe you want to look at accelerator or maybe even block. It could be all right for you, right? No. She got on there and basically said, I can't believe you're not on the triplex because you have hypothyroidism. You absolutely need to do it. It's going to help you. Do you see the difference when you use that positive language? You always want to speak in positive notes. Don't say things like if or when or are you interested. You want to be positive. And guys, this comes from your bold confidence in how these products can help them. Now, I know Meghan has a couple tips on that.
Absolutely. And when Sarah is telling Amy, you must be on these products, she's being bold and she's being confident in her belief. You guys, we're on this call. We are promoting Plexus. We are sharing Plexus with our friends and family who we love most because we believe in these products. We are so passionate about them because they have helped us. They have changed our lives, not just health-wise, but financially for some people, and emotionally. These are life-changing products. And we truly do have a gift. And it is our job to share that with others. We are giving them something that they need, something to help them. And the truth is, if we're not confident in our beliefs, if we're wishy-washy, why would they make that happen? You know, so we want to be really, really confident in what we're doing because it's the truth. We love Plexus because it has helped us. And in doing that, one of the things that I found that's been really helpful is just being real with people. I, by nature, I'm not the center of attention when I walk in the room. I'm not the funniest person in the room. So I don't try to be something I'm not when I'm talking about Plexus. But I am real with them. I am a passionate person about health. I do care wholeheartedly about my family and my friends. And when I'm talking to people, I convey that to them. Find out what you're confident in, what part, and really accentuate that, because people will sense it. And in doing that, you're assuming the sale from the beginning.
That's so true, Megan. And one thing that I find a lot of people ask, especially newbies, they want a blurb. Give me a blurb. Give me a script for follow-up. What do you send your people? And those really do not come across as authentic. They come across as salesy. So I think she's absolutely correct. Remember, these are your friends and family. Talk to them like they're your friends and family. But you can still use that positive language. And one thing I always do, I always assume the sale, because most people are skeptics, right? If I do not assume the sale and I talk in uncertain terms, then that's what they're going to feed off of my energy. So never say things like, if you're interested, when you get a chance, do you think you might want to try it? Right? That goes back to what Megan was saying. If you're kind of wishy-washy, they're going to be wishy-washy. Most people have never heard of Plexus. They have zero belief. They have to get their belief in Plexus from you. And the way that comes across is being positive and assuming the sale. So I always say things like, when you place your order, I can't wait for you to get started. You are going to feel amazing. When you get your welcome pack, I'm calling you on the phone, right? See these things that you always assume the sale. How do you do that, Megan, though, when maybe, you've said something and then they don't get back to you? How do you make sure they always reply back to you?
Yes, that is the worst. We do not want them to go into action or be silent. So how do we avoid that? Well, number one, we want to end what we're saying with a question. We want a question at the end of our message to them so that we can kind of evoke a response and keep them engaged in the conversation. So it could be something very simple, like, is this something you're interested in? It could be something like, what would you like Plexus to help you with? It could be something, if you're not really hearing or you're suspecting maybe it's a financial issue, it could be something like, does this sound like something you can afford? And if not, let's get you on some products. Let's start you with the essential pink drink. And we can work our way up to other products, but right now, we want to help you at least a little bit, get you started feeling better. And maybe that will begin with the probiotic as a preferred customer. But ask them questions and keep them engaged in the conversation. One of the things that I did that was a total accident, but ended up being something that I do more frequently now with my really good friends, was at the end of a conversation with one of my really good friends, I had said something like, is this something you're interested in? And then at the bottom, we're both fans of Real Housewives, so I said, side note, did you see last week's episode of Real Housewives? Now, this girl who had been sort of avoiding me wrote back almost instantly because she wanted to answer the question about Real Housewives. So sometimes with really good friends, you can, just not even mention Plexus, because it's kind of like what Amy was saying earlier, about relationships. That's why we're in this, that's people engaged in it. It's about relationships. And so you're kind of establishing that first and foremost, you care about their friendship. You care about, if they watched that episode last week, But because you care about that, because you care about their friendship, you also want to help their health. It builds more of a trusting relationship with them, and it helps encourage a decision.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you've done all this, right? You've done your follow-up, you did your close, you used positive language, you're assuming the sale. Then what? Nothing happens, right? You want that incentive by April 30th. It's been 3 days and they haven't replied to you, okay? A couple of things, guys. One, keep in mind that we think about Plexus 28 hours a day, right? They are not. Life, it's busy. However, there are some things you can do to help maybe get them back on track. And one of those things, you have to ask them for a decision, right? If you ask, ye shall receive. If you don't ask them, what happens? You've answered all their questions, you've sent them this great information, you've been chit-chatting, and then it goes silent. Most people aren't going to jump right in and say, okay, I'm ready, let's do this. Now, some people will, and that's great. But a lot of people need our guidance. They need us to give them the green light to go ahead and purchase. And so, again, it's simple. It's not anything pushy. It's not salesy. I had one tonight. I was talking to her over text message. I'm just going to read you what you said. I just said, I told her I was going to send her a coupon. And I said, hey, it's Amy again. I'd love for you to try Plexus for at least a month. Are you ready to order tonight? And she hadn't replied back to me for 2 days. She replied back and said, yeah, sounds great. I'll do it tonight. So sometimes you just need to ask them for a decision. Now, Megan's going to talk about, though, what if they come back to you and that decision that you think is, yes, I'm ready, I'll do it, is, no, I'm not ready.
Yes, you're thinking you're going to get a yes, but you get an objection. Now, Sheena Hall and Amanda Grubb did an awesome job last week talking about all these different objections and exactly how to reply. If you haven't checked it out, check it out in Team Taylor. But you've watched that video, you know how to respond when they talk to you about objectives like objections like FDA, money, time. You know how to respond to all that, but they're still objecting. So at that point, one of the things is I get back to basics. And ultimately, the thing that I know the best is my personal story. And I just get real with them. And I just say, listen, my sister is working 2 jobs. And my mom is working. My dad is working. But all of them are working so hard. And I care so much about them. I am telling you, I could not ask and live with myself. I could not ask my family to make that kind of a financial investment if I did not wholeheartedly believe in these products. I love them, and everyone who knows me knows I'm super close with my family. This is not something that I take lightly. I would accept this myself. And sometimes I'm just real about that. I totally get it. I acknowledge where they're coming from, and I totally get it because I was the same way. But I could not have my family and friends on these products if I did not believe in them wholeheartedly. The other thing you could do if you get an objection that has worked for me almost 100% of the time as well, and it takes some pressure off of me, is get them on a Zoom with you and your upline. You know, Amy talked about at the beginning, she was on Zooms all the time with Sarah. I was on Zooms. So what you would do is just get them, it's you, your potential, and your upline on a call. But do not call them your upline. It's kind of a scary term for people who don't know Plexus or are not in direct sales. So I would say friend. So, you know, I might say, Susie, we have kind of been talking back and forth. You've asked me lots of questions and I've answered them. And I got to be honest, my friend Taryn, she's a nurse and she's really an expert on this. Do you mind if I throw you in a chat with her? And then the 3 of us could chat. But that usually works pretty well. The other thing is, let's say that you are waiting, you get on a Zoom and that still hasn't worked and they go into silence, you can ask them for a decision again. Leslie Van talks about how if it's someone you don't know, you don't be afraid to say, hey friend, I'm just curious, what's holding you back? That's something that evokes a response and people like to answer. If it's a really good friend, she says, you can also say to a really good friend, listen, your friendship means a lot to me first and foremost. You know what? It's okay to tell me no. I care about you as a friend more than a customer, and that's okay. And honestly, that one was really scary for me with my good friend who ended up signing up for Plexus, but just hearing that reassurance built that trust, made them more confident in purchasing Plexus because they saw that first and foremost, I care about their friendship. So that's another way to try to overcome the objections, through personal stories, through Zoom, through just really reaching out and saying, I'm just curious, what's holding me back? Or it's okay to tell me no. And then you will feel more confident going into the rest of the conversation.
Yes, that's a really good point because a lot of times people need to know that it's okay to tell you no. And I think that distinguishes us from being desperate, right, and salesy to not. If you almost act as if you really, business-wise, could care less if they order, they're going to jump right in. When you focus on how Plexus can help them, and sometimes I've even told people, I don't care who you order from, you need to be on this product, right? When you can separate that, they pick up on your energy. Now, I know that's hard. A lot of times, especially when we're pushing for like this big secret reveal incentive, and we just need 2, and we just want them to not wait until Friday. We want them to order today. You have to take a deep breath and you have to step back because your desperation will come across in the messages you're sending to them. One thing that I always tell people, you've got to keep this in mind because, again, I relate it back to my story with Sarah Taylor, who, again, was a stranger on the internet, right? We have like the best story. You have got to keep Plexus in all of your conversations with them and how it can help them personally. Guys, nobody cares how great our triplex is. Nobody cares that we have the only fully methylated vitamin with aloe unless they know how it affects them. Everyone's in it for themselves, right? What's in it for me? The only way you get that is through the conversation Meghan was talking about and through the follow-up, asking lots of questions. If you're immediately talking to people about Plexus and telling them how great the triplex and our probiotic and slim and all these things are, you've already lost them. Nobody cares. I didn't care. If Sarah Taylor had opened our conversation with how amazing Plexus and the triplex is, I'd been like, whoa, no, not for me. Instead, she engaged me in a conversation. She asked me tons of questions. And once she found out I did have that autoimmune disease, then she honed in on how Plexus could help me specifically. That's when it mattered to me. So I think you always have to make sure you're listening and you don't get hung up on the perfect thing to say or the perfect way to close, or right? You need to be listening to your people and connect how Plexus can really help them. And that above all is going to help you in follow-up and help you close the deal. Do you have any last minute? I think, those are our tips for tonight, guys. I want to make sure Meghan doesn't have any last minute things that she thought of as we were talking.
That's excellent. That's exactly what I was thinking, and kind of going along with that, knowing the person and knowing, is it the business that motivates them, or is it their health that motivates them, and kind of directing your conversation.
Yes, that's a really good point, because what's funny is, again, I'm going to use our story, Sarah. Even though she got on the phone with me and asked me all these questions, she knew in the back of her head, the ultimate reason I posted on that Facebook group was because I wanted out of my commute, right? And so she remembered that. She got me on the products to try them because of my health, but she never forgot my actual motivation was that commute. And the minute I loved the products, she brought that back up because that was my motivation. And you only get that, though, from asking those types of questions. So I hope that was helpful, guys. We can take questions if anybody has questions for the next 5 minutes. That's okay, Sarah?
Yeah, I was just going to add just a little bit. You guys absolutely did amazing. I think that the bottom line is we need to embrace follow-up. It is a necessary part of this business, and it's going to be what separates you from everybody else. And each follow-up, each connection that you do with each of these people that you're talking to, those are opportunities to add value to the other person and show them what kind of coach you're going to be, what kind of support you're going to be going forward, what kind of an involved upline you're going to be. You want somebody to join your team, you need to show them that you are committed and serious about this business. So with each follow-up, I like to schedule my follow-ups with them, basically meaning that if they say, okay, Sarah, I'm going to go look at this stuff, when I get home, I say, no problem, I'll follow up with you in the morning. Just something as simple as that takes the bothering piece of this out of it. And we don't follow up for fear of bothering somebody. When you schedule it with them and you tell them when you're going to follow up next, not only are you controlling that aspect of it, but you're also controlling the pace. But you guys, those steps that they did, they can answer your questions, but I just wanted to give them, just a huge shout out, because these girls know what they're talking about with follow-up and closing. They absolutely do. That advice that they gave was absolutely amazing. So I don't know if you need to watch and rewatch this call, take notes, but all of those tips were absolutely incredible to set you up for success. So go ahead with your questions. I will unmute you guys, or you guys can unmute yourself and ask, or you can ask in the chat. It looks like we do have one for you guys in the chat.
Okay, somebody asked, do you ever add friends on Facebook that you don't know personally, but you have mutual friends? Yes, all the time. I especially do it if I don't have mutual Plexus friends. And then message them right away or wait. I wait because I am all about relationships. And if they see that I only sent them a friend request just so I can hurry up and message them about Plexus, that comes across as a shark and very salesy. So I usually will wait. Now, that doesn't mean I won't build that relationship with them, comment on their posts, and maybe once I see they have a certain health issue or something they're struggling with, I might post about that. But I definitely don't message them right away.
I definitely focus on building a relationship with them first. Now, the only difference maybe would be if they are doing direct sales and the conversation sort of started about direct sales and they're kind of talking to you about their products and vice versa. But yeah, otherwise build that relationship with them first. That's a really good question.
But that's why, guys, you always have to be working your business. You always have to be planting seeds, because what you're doing right now may not come to fruition for 90 days. I mean, I have 2 brand new customers this month that I've been working on for 6 months. So, that's why you never can stop planting those seeds.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
I have a question. I have personally, and then I know there's a couple people in my downline that have people that have been fence sitters. And I mean, not just your average fence sitter. I have a fence sitter that has been sitting on that fence now for over a year. In fact, I even messaged her with the incentives that we have going on now. Any advice for those? I mean, these are people that have actually said, okay, I'm going to sit down and actually sign up right now or buy right now. Can you walk me through it? And then all of a sudden they get cold feet and they're gone. And then, I mean, it's every single month. I'm really close to ordering. I'm really close. Like, I don't know what else I can really offer, because in a year's time, there has come and gone, like, the best offers that I've seen coming. And I don't give them every month. I refuse to, because then full price isn't a good deal if they think you're always looking for something. But I know that my team has a couple like that as well, and I have one that's my perpetual fence sitter. I seriously think she's stuck on the post. Any advice for those?
So I would first say, one, do you know why they're saying no? Like, if you asked them what their objection is. And then if you do, if they're just chronic fence sitters, I would be bold and say something like, well, you know what? Especially if they've been doing this for so long, let me know when you're ready to get healthy, right? And then I mean, because you don't want to beg anyone. And it sounds like if someone's been on the fence for that long, it's almost like they want you to keep begging them to try it, right?
Yeah, like it's almost to the point where I had over several months there, put them in my 20%, my 80-20, and they're like, okay, all right, there's only so much I can do. You either want to do this or you don't. And so they kind of fell into my 20%. And every once in a while, like this evening, I actually sent her a message because I thought, you know what, I'm not going to say her name. I'm going to get her a message and just see where she's at. I saw her drinking some kind of a green smoothie the other day that was something, and I figured that's something other, but I texted her, I was like, and I just kind of see how she's doing outside of Plexus, and then I let her know we've got some more, and her answer back tonight again was, no, I'm really close to thinking about it, or I'm really close to ordering. I'm like, wow. And I don't know what else to do because that was
what would you.
So one of the things that I like to do in those situations is pull it back from them, because if they think that you're desperate for their sale, like I think both Amy and Meghan were talking about earlier, they're stringing you along. But if they think that in the end it doesn't really matter anymore to you, like pull it back from them, be like, you know what, when you're ready, I'll be here, but until then, I don't want to waste your time, I don't want to waste mine. So when you're ready to actually take over your health, take over your finances, and be really bold when you're saying that, then I'll be here. But until then, I'm not going to bother you anymore. I'm not going to follow up with you anymore. And I have found that has made people jump more often than not, and sometimes it doesn't. But at the end of the day, then you're letting yourself off the hook for that person, and you know they're watching you. You know, and you can then use and employ attraction marketing to. You already know what their buying criteria is. You already know what their health issues are. You already know those things, so you can continue to market to them without physically following up all the time with them and draw them in.
Okay, yeah, maybe I'll see what see what she does through the end of this month with this incentive, and if not, maybe I'll just send her a message like that and just says, you know what, apparently this isn't what you're in the mood or what you're ready for yet. When you're ready, I'll be here. Whatever.
Exactly, and I would say those words. I would say when you're ready to take control of your health, when you're ready to feel better, when you're ready to take control of your finances, whatever it was that she initially contacted you about Plexus, when you're ready for that, I'll be here for you. You know.
Okay. Thanks. I appreciate it.
And they may not be giving you they may not be giving you the real reason that they're sitting on the fence. They may actually have timing may truly not be right.
Yeah, I agree, because I've had a couple that started when the time wasn't right just because they thought, well, if there's a good incentive or whatever running, I think there was a couple at the end of the year, and they didn't stay. And then it was months later, then they were in a better place, in a better mindset, and now they're good and steady. So I do agree, it's got to be the right time for the right person, and that I do agree with 100%. Thank you.
Okay, any other calls, guys? Or any other questions? Okay, I think we are going to go ahead and wrap it up for tonight. You guys go and check out the other calls that we did in this series this month. We're going to be picking this series back up for next month, and it's going to be on Sunday nights. So keep those times open, Sunday nights at 8 o'clock Central. We're going to have a bunch of new great calls next month. And in the meantime, it is the end of the month. Definitely go use all of these strategies that we just talked about to close your month strong, and don't give up until the last second. All right, guys, thank you guys so much, and thank you for joining us on the call tonight. We'll see you soon.